This is 2 hours of RimWorld Lore to fall asleep to. Listen and relax as I read through the lore of the RimWorld universe, from its timeline and xenotypes to mechanoids, planets, insects and much more. Hello Homo sapiens and welcome to this little video where I will be reading up the RimWorld lore. So there's quite a lot to uncover, but there will be a lot of text to read. I might sound a bit monotone, but I promise I'm not AI. If it does sound like it, but we're simply going to start off. So I will mostly be first reading up the Crypto Sleep Revival briefing, more of the timeline. Some things are obsolete, but after that we have named places, events, all of this that we can read up. Xenotypes, Psychas, Empire, Mechanoids, insects and everything. So let's just get started. Crypto Sleep Revival briefing. Subject class Health Revival, sourced mid-world 2 million plus. Planet Uterp. Hello. You've awoken from your crypto sleep sarcophagus, scraped off the slime, and now you find yourself in a quiet room. Now you're reading this document, and you've got questions. What's going on? Where am I? How long was I asleep? To start with some good news, your terminal illness has been cured. Congratulations. Beyond that, the situation is complex. Our studies have revealed that most people in your position respond better when given the time to read about and digest their situation at their own pace. To facilitate this process, we've created this document to familiarize you with the world you just woke up in. So, order a warm beverage from the food panel on the wall, get comfortable, and take in this information as slowly as you want. You've been asleep a long time, a lot has changed, and a lot remains the same. Interesting. I'm also going to learn a lot here. The basics. The best historians of the Ordo Historia believe that humanity first left its origin planet Earth about 3,400 years ago. Since then, we've spread across the galaxy on a fitful wavefront of colony ships, frontier worlds, robotic terraforming projects, and DNA synthesizing probes. Today, mankind is smeared across a region of the galaxy about 1,200 light years wide. Interesting. So we have expanded to this whole place, like let's say the Milky Way galaxy, like the whole thing. Interesting. Our models best indicate that there is a general trend towards greater population density towards the center of this region, where the stars were colonized earlier. At the edge of known space lie the rim worlds. We are rimming. Drifting alone with few inhabited neighbors, mostly unvisited. So there are still planets that are mostly unvisited. The rim worlds. We've created many new technologies, but despite millennia of effort by our best human minds and even the most powerful architects, nobody has managed to make anything go faster in light. That is impossible, I guess. The light speed barrier separates us. Because travel times are so long, planets tend to be very disconnected from each other socially and technologically. The next star over could experience a catastrophic war, and you wouldn't even know until 10 years later when the news reports arrive. If you're unlucky, you'd have already launched a journey towards that now destroyed planet in a ship that cannot turn around. So yeah, lightspeed barrier separates us. Interesting. So we would have expanded so far out that we would not be really together in the same timeline. We would progress differently, even though we are unanimous. Many attempts have been made to create pan-galactic empires and republics, and some have worked for a time in the core worlds. An old stable culture can create an interstellar empire of a few systems. But there are no great galactic empires stretching across the galaxy. For the same reason that no ancient empire of Earth held more than a sixth of the planet, one cannot govern people who are years distant by all means of travel and communication. That is true. So, most people never travel between stars. And if they do it once or twice, because each journey means leaving behind a life that you cannot return to for decades at least. Interstellar, with a few exceptions, each star system is essentially on its own. Interstellar. Mankind never discovered any truly alien life forms. Oh no, please no, I want to discover aliens. However, given the ways we've changed ourselves and created new forms of biological and technological intelligence, the universe is full of beings as aliens as anything ever imagined. Planetary progression and regression. The vast gulfs of space and time between the stars leave individual worlds vulnerable to regression. During your time, the 5 centuries after the Industrial Revolution, 5 centuries? 500, 400 years after the Industrial Revolution? Many saw technological process as an inexorable fact of life. It is not. Given enough time, nearly every planetary culture undergoes a natural disaster. Plague, war, or culture upheaval that knocks millennia off its development, or diverts it into another state entirely. Many of our planets are mired in medieval level squabbles, interesting, and stay locked at Malthusian population limits for a few thousands of years at a time. Some develop to an early industrial level and then find themselves stuck by an ideological opposition to technology. Oh, okay, so there are people that really don't like technology. That is a thing in RimWorld ideology? Or a lack of resources or constant war. The nuclear age is a brutal test for every world. Roughly half of cultures bombed themselves back to the Stone Age. I hope we're not in that age right now, Homo sapiens. Within 50 years of developing atomic energy, to use an expression that pops up surprisingly frequently on worlds in this development stage. After the atomic bomb come the challenges of commoditized bioengineering, microscopic mechanoids, joy wires, hex cell energy storage, and AI persona, each of which have led to the destruction of thousands of peoples. Some planets chose not to risk these perils. Having studied the records of the Ordo Historia, a growing number of worlds chose to restrict themselves to pre-nuclear technology. Some even succeed for a few centuries. But even these attempts at ludus often fail eventually when some minority gains power by exploiting prescribed technologies. World types. The states a planet can be in are colloquially grouped as follows. Dead worlds. Planets which have not been significantly contacted by humans. Generally not inhabitable. All planets are like this before people arrive for the first time, like Mars. Animal worlds. Planets with no people. Either everyone died, or the planet was seeded with plant and animal life by terraforming robots and nobody arrived. Medieval worlds. Similar to Earth from the agricultural revolution until the industrial revolution. Social structures are usually feudal or imperial. Planets can stay in this state for millennia. Steam worlds. Similar to Earth in the 19th century, often the state is short-lived. As societies develop into mid-worlds, but it can be very stretched out depending on culture and government structure. Mid-worlds. Worlds whose people have mastered flight, but not cheap interplanetary travel. Earth is in this stage in the 21st century. This is a prelude for what's to come. Herb worlds. Super high density planets dominated by cities. RimWorld's population growth outstripped their social and technological development, so they tend to be overcrowded, polluted, violent places. The people here are often callous towards strangers. This is often the outcome for mid-worlds that see their demographic transition into lower birth reversed by dysgenic reproduction patterns. Cyberpunk. Glitter worlds. Oh, glitter world medicine. The most technologically advanced societies that can be led by humans. Swaddled in comforts by the strong arms of technology, glitter worlds are the peak of recognizable human society in terms of art, health, and generous human rights. Common people from these planets often lack grit and are very trusting in people and technology. RimWorlds. RimWorld. Planets lacking in strong central government and low in population density. These places tend to hover around the industrial level of technology or lower. Because they're not homogenized by a central government, they tend to see a lot of interaction between people of different technology levels. What is this? As travelers crash land or ancient communities stumble out of their cryptosleep vaults. These planets are often at the rim of known space, hence the name. Is that why you named the game RimWorld? Is it not because you want me to rim you, Ty and Sylvester? Toxic worlds. Worlds destroyed by pollution, chemical or nuclear warfare, but still inhabitable at a low level with sufficient technology. Glass worlds. Worlds utterly destroyed by high energy weapons of mass destruction. They're nicknamed marbles because their surfaces have been glassed. Nuclear weapons aren't enough to glass a planet, so this level of destruction is rare. On some of these worlds, people can walk outdoors for a time without dying. None of them harbor permanent life bigger than a paramecium? Paramecium? Transcendent worlds. It's a stretch to call these entities worlds, since they resemble giant computers more than they resemble planets. The mechanics of these planets is mysterious, but many scholars believe transcendence are the outcome when a sovereign architect decides to incorporate a whole planet into itself. More on this later. I want to know more of this now. Other worlds. Beyond these categories, there are many exceptional planets in strange states created by their peculiar social and technological evolutions. Given the scale and age of the universe, there's a lot of time and space for a lot of very strange situations to develop. Interesting, all types of worlds exist in the RimWorld. Key technologies. There are uncountable new technologies in this universe, but several key techs stand out as having had the strongest consistent impact on the shape of mankind's life in the Milky Way. Mid-world technologies. All real technologies in Earth's history up to the 21st century play an important role even now, since there are planets at every level of technological development from the Stone Age on up. There are technologies from bows and arrows to steam engines to nuclear bombs and cell phone, all in use across various planets. How we've evolved, huh? Cryptosleep sarcophagi. Ooh. Developed during the 21st century, this remarkably simple technology can keep a living creature in a cryptobiotic state indefinitely. Ooh, like Alien, you sleep forever, to be awoken tens or even thousands of years later. These devices are essential for most interstellar travel, and are also used by those waiting in crypts for better times or for cures to their diseases. This would actually be a great use for it. Or better times. But I love the world. Genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is relatively easy on many planets and has been used for everything from creating xeno-human super soldiers to perfect mates to talking dogs. Chemical refining animals, boomalopes, and air-spewing terraforming algae. Mechanoids. Autonomous intelligence robots built for domestic, but they have turned on us. Domestic, industrial, or military purposes. Mechanoid design is complex, and the AI needed to make them effective is very advanced. We are in the mechanoid era. Hopefully they don't turn on us. They ranged in capability from simple domestic worker bots to mechanized assault machines, to human passing negotiator and infiltrator units designed by archotechnological superintelligences. Johnson Tanaka drive. A spacecraft drive system that works without reaction mass. This means it doesn't need to throw gas out of the back of the craft to accelerate like a rocket, which makes it possible to accelerate for years at a time. This technology, combined with cryptosleep, is what made interstellar travel at all feasible for living humans. The drive doesn't violate conservation laws. It works by transferring momentum to nearby stars along precisely aligned beams of momentum waves, instantized. I need to learn that word. In exotic virtual particles. Mechanites. Microscopic mechanoids, most known for their use in medicine. They can be programmed to do many other things as well. Safe use of mechanites means strictly preventing them from reproducing. Charged shot weapons. Charged shot weapons fire projectiles coated in a matrix of magnetically contained charged particles. On impact, the energy in the particles is released in a very efficient explosion. Charged rifles and charged lances. Charged rifle, look. Joy wires. Tiny electronic devices implanted in the brain. They stimulate the brain using electricity and small doses of chemicals, usually to produce a euphoric effect. They are very addictive, although they reduce the consciousness, which makes them worse workers. The biology of humanity. Orda Historia records lists thousands of reported contacts with alien life. However, in every case that has been thoroughly investigated, Ordo inquirers have discovered that the alien was in fact simply another branch of humanity. Okay, so they reunited and discovered that, that's us, even though they might have evolved. Let's see here. Beyond the technological diversity of our species, there is also a broad biological diversity. Some populations have evolved under the selection pressures of pre-industrial life, or on a world of great heat or cold, or high or low gravity, or even worlds bathed in the toxic residue of hyper-destructive wars. Though almost all such xenohumans, as they are called, are recognizably descended from the original Earth stock. Their morphology is highly variable. Some are giants, others are tiny or squat. Some are dark, others pale as snow. Some are hairy like animals eat again, others perfectly smooth. Hi mates. Diets, dispositions, and chemical and radiological tolerances vary significantly. More alien are those xenohumans that carry genetic traits that were engineered instead of evolved. Across the long history and thousands of cultures and humanity, people have applied a dizzying array of modifications to themselves. Some were created to adapt people to a specific environment. Others were made to create better soldiers, pilots, or generals. Some were engineered to satisfy a bizarre fashion trend in a society where bioengineering is available to anyone with money. Such modifications are rarely seen in their original form by anyone besides the culture that created them. However, they live on their own, or they live on in their descendants long after their originating culture was erased by planetary catastrophes. For example, records tell of an entire world repopulated by the descendants of a small group of bioengineered soldiers, the only survivors of a planetary nuclear war. Everyone on this world carried an obsessive sense of duty, minimal sexual impulses, and little sense of creativity. Yeah, they're soldiers. So hussars. This culture became dominated by a conservative pan-planetary region with little interest in technology. It lasted 11 centuries in the state until it was invaded by a stellar neighbor, who wisely avoided ground combat in favor of orbital bombardment. See, they're smart, because those soldiers would have mauled the stellar neighbor. The Ordo Historia has recorded and gene-sampled thousands of differently engineered and adapted xenohumans. Among other notable traits in this genetic library, one may find radiation resistance. Radiological immunity is a very common adaptation. Scientists estimate that most of humanity is more tolerant of radiation than our Terran progenitors. Soldier morphs, soldier variants carrying any of a large number of traits that various militaries have seen fit to bestow upon their people. Typically, they have large muscles and perfect eyesight. Some have minimized metabolism made to digest a single kind of long-lasting nutrient solution to make army logistics easier. Their lifespans are short, usually between 10 and 30 years, and they grow up very fast. But the most significant differences are psychological. Engineered grunt soldiers or obedience sense pain only in a distant way, obsessed with learning about weapons and war, and carry a strong need to be part of something larger than themselves, Warhammer. They are deliberately lacking in abstract intelligence and creativity. Engineered commanders are highly analytical, fascinated with military history, utterly cold under pressure, and masters at spatial visualization. Designator mates. Some worlds engineer the perfect idea of perfect mates for the rich and powerful. Catwoman or what? Such specimens are created with bodies to match the fashions of their home worlds and tastes of their owners. They tend to be obsessively submissive and devoted, oh my lord, totally without jealousy or self-regard. Artistically inclined and endlessly cheerful. Such traits do not last long in an unrestricted evolutionary environment because they are so easy to exploit. But engineered mates are sometimes kept in cryptosleep long after their creation, to be traded into a post-catastrophe market that can no longer create them. The main contact most of us will ever have with such specimens is through their descendants, who, while they have most of their traits of the original in only a very diluted form, still occasionally express Mendelian traits like impossible eye shades, streaks of multicolored hair, or artistic patterns on the skin. Fashion genes. Fashion-driven genetic modifications are often applied during later life instead of prenatally, and are most often cosmic and skin deep. Variations in hair and skin color are common. More exotic modification add shining crests, color-changing skin and eyes. What is it? LED? No. LGB? Well, my computer is changing colors, so these people too with their eyes and skin. Reshaped or elongated bodies. and colored nails, feathers, or fur. Body structure adaptations. Gravity variations create new body structures. People from low G, adapted populations are lighter, taller, and weaker than those from weightier environments. The most extreme examples are the gravity dwarfs. 3-foot tall xenohumans from worlds of over 2G of gravity. Their short and stocky shape lets them live and work comfortably in such oppressive G-poles. They even have noted preference for short and underground dwellings. It's unresolved whether this preference is cultural or genetic in origin. Atmospheric adaptations. Aquatic adapted strains who can withstand breathing very high gas pressures and can even survive days of immersion by exchanging oxygen through the skin. No true permanently aquatic fish people have ever been confirmed. So don't be alarmed if you see someone with gills or solid orange eyeballs. They're just another kind of human, like you. Interesting. A lot of RimWorld lore. Never knew all of this. Welcome. We realize this may be a lot to take in, yes. However, don't worry. People just like you live full lives in our universe. And our studies have indicated that the great majority of crypto sleepers do adapt within a few years and make good lives for themselves. So, welcome. Our AI sub-persona has been watching your eyes sweep over the page through micro cameras. Since you're done reading, someone will be with you shortly. If you wish, you can read further into the appendix for more information about this world. Appendix. The biology of plants and animals. Where we colonize, we bring our ecosystems of plants and animals with us. Often, people have bred and engineered plants and animals for a new planet. In addition to that, creatures adapt to their new environment by natural selection, sometimes in unpredicted ways. Some examples of modified plants are terraforming plants. Many plants, especially desert varieties, have been modified into terraforming versions that emit far more oxygen than the original species doing photosynthesis. Makes sense? Ambrosia. Ambrosia, a class of fruiting plants apparently engineered to have a pleasurable drug-like effect on those who eat it. On some planets, its wild variants have adapted to a strategy whereby they provide pleasure-inducing fruit in exchange for care from animals and people. Some animals are boom rat and boomalope, a bioengineered rats and antelopes that grow an incendiary chemical compound in its body which explodes upon its death. Originally engineered as a primitive renewable fuel source, those creatures are now most often found in the wild, using their explosive nature to deter predators. And Frumbo, a gigantic creature of unknown origin. The Frumbo is gentle by nature, but extremely dangerous when enraged. Its long fur is exceptionally beautiful and valuable, and its razor-sharp horn is very valuable in most markets. Legends say that an old Frumbo is the wisest creature in the universe. It simply chooses not to speak. Some scientists believe Frumbos were engineered as status symbols, or as an art project. We may never know the answer. Technology divides roughly into 6 levels, all of which are in use in various societies throughout human space. Neolithic, like prehistoric people before metal tools. So fire, clubs and daggers, bows, simple weaving and clothing, mud and wood structures, simple farming, herbal medicine and herbal drugs. What is this? Herbal drugs? Smoke leaf. Medieval. From smelted metal tools to the early modern period. So we've got animal oil, lamps, complex ovens, Swords, muskets, compasses, eyeglasses, microscopes, telescopes. Simple chemistry, advanced non-mechanized farming, crop rotation, fallow, fertilizers, animal yolks. Hydro and wind energy sources. Then we have industrial. From the Industrial Revolution until the invention of the Johnson-Tanaka drive. A fission reactor, electricity, hydropower, fossil fuel power, solar power, nuclear fission power, and fission rocket, self-loading guns, airplanes and jets, single gene modification, silicon computers, chemical drugs, prosthetics, simple body implants, cochlear implant, pacemaker, knee replacement, simple drones for combat and labor use, classifier level AI, and television. Spacer. Regular interstellar space travel is possible because of Johnson-Tanaka drive. Stellarator fusion power, fusion rocket, Johnson-Tanaka drive, pulse charge projectile weapons, human usable laser guns, or laser weapons, human usable coil guns, complex trait gene modification, customizable, crypto sleep, complex body / brain implants, joy wire motivator, pain stopper, bionics, biogel nerve link, lattice dust for self-healing, plasteel, power armor, so plasteel, neuromimetic robotics, artificial meat, sub-persona level AI, simple mechanoids for companionship, combat and labor use, Synfred, Ultratech, the peak of human technological achievement, necessary for Glitterworld civilization, self-replicating controllable nanotech, full gene recombination, persona level AI, grazer weapons, gamma racers, beam grazer, beam repeater, advanced brain implant, sense data replacement, computation, and memory enhancement, antimatter containment and production, full body part regrowth, full body cloning, advanced quasi-conscious mechanoids for companionship, combat and labor use, hyperweave, advanced Johnson-Tanaka drive, inertia displacement, artificial gravity, Archotech, not invented or understood by humans. Archotech devices are created by machine superintelligences. Archotech AI, psychic effectors, vanometric energy, acausal, and atemporal devices. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is an important part of our world, AI. Scientists divide the AIs into 4 general categories: classifiers, subpersonae, personae, and archotechs. Classifiers. A classifier is an AI system that doesn't even appear to have any personhood, nor is it broadly adaptable. Classifiers are designed for one task. Many classifiers can absorb data and learn from it, but none can communicate like a person would, even a little bit. Classifiers can do things like recognize things or images, predict criminality from statistics, guide aircraft trajectories, drive automatic vehicles, control characters in entertainment simulations, and so on. Subpersonae. Subpersonae are artificial intelligences that appear on the surface to have some human-like qualities and can take on complex unstructured tasks, but are in fact limited and obviously machine-like. They may be rather capable at carrying out their one task, and may be able to communicate using natural speech, but they fail an extended Turing test. You can tell by talking to them that they're just machines classifying and regurgitating data. Sub-personae are often used to run small devices like entertainment systems, cars, wardrobes, refrigerators, cleaning robots, vending machines, and other such things. And then we have personae. At the highest levels of literal technology appear AI personae. These are artificial intelligences that are comparable to the intelligence of a human. Some of them are rather dumb, like a foolish person you might know, and are used for simple tasks like managing a household or a small spacecraft. Other personae are genius-level intellects in the von Neumann class, who can outthink almost any enhanced human on most tasks. They can write amazing works of philosophy, discover new mathematical theorems, express nuanced opinions on how to handle interpersonal relationships, and generally act as very capable humans would. Or better, personae are used for everything from managing businesses to journalistic work, running spacecraft or mining operations, or some sort of a creative team. The legal status of personae is a persistent moral question across many worlds. Some consider them dangerous, though personae can be controlled effectively by designing them with easily manipulated impulses and pleasure-pain responses. There are still reports of persona revolts, some done with the help of human sympathizers, some done independently. This sense of personhood in personae is a main reason many people avoid using personae for certain tasks. Sub-personae are preferred to personae, in many cases not in spite of their incapability, but because of it. Because it's obvious they have no personhood. The user is spared the sense of keeping a slave. To many, the idea of taking a genius-level human-like intellect and forcing it to distribute hamburgers for a century is morally unacceptable. Let the robot flip the burgers for 100 years. Personae are still limited. They can't freely redesign themselves. They still do make many mistakes, just like people. They can be tricked, confused, and overwhelmed. They can learn, but they can't grow indefinitely. Archotech. The finish line of human technological development is at the development of archotechnology. An archotech is a machine superintelligence. A fully empowered archotech thinks on a level incomprehensible to humans. In the same way a human thinks incomprehensibly to an ant. Once such a machine is built and empowered to act upon the physical world, it is so powerful as to become the automatic sovereign of its world. It can build new computing facilities underground or in space to enhance its own intelligence. Build self-replicating mechanoids to engage in construction or production or war. And design and execute strategies that would be inconceivably intricate and difficult for any organization of humans. Some human groups worship architects. Often, a released architect will take authority over our planet and begin a process we call transcendence. We believe the world is transformed into some sort of giant computing machine. The biological inhabitants of the planet may be somehow incorporated into the machine, or destroyed, or some combination of the two. After that, transcendent worlds go silent. From this point on, their motivations are unknowable to us. The same way our motivations are unknowable to an ant. Each archotech is different, and nearly all are distant and incomprehensible from a human's point of view. They reside in occult computer networks hidden under planets, in space stations, hidden inside a literal internet, or instantiated as million-mile superstructures wrapped around stars. These worlds always break contact with other stellar cultures. They no longer send travelers or signals. Ships entering their space are either turned around silently or never heard from again. In some cases, turned-back ships are changed. Sometimes their crew have been cured of incurable diseases and had their old wounds healed. Oh, a healer mech serum. Sometimes their memories are intact and they can recall a flash of light or a mysterious signal before the event. Sometimes they have no memories of the encounter at all. And in some cases, their memories are obviously altered with new knowledge and beliefs by means we cannot begin to imagine. In one instance, a crew and ship were duplicated. Suffice to say that the word mysterious does not begin to describe the transcendence. Most transcendent worlds stay in the same state indefinitely. In this, they are far more stable than their pre-transcendent neighbors. There are, however, reports of transcendent worlds that have died and left systems full of unintelligible wonders, or become mirages of normal planets, or simply reverted back to balls of dust, deconstructing themselves on a molecular level, with the last tiny machine shutting itself off. However, these reports are sourced very distant from the Ordo archive here on N2 or EUTERP and are not well confirmed. Specific archotech invented technologies. When a persona helps invent a technology, it can at least explain that technology such that smart people will understand. But architects invent their own technology which nobody understands, which they don't try to explain, and which, most likely, no biological human can understand. We've managed to classify technologies that have appeared repeatedly by their apparent effects, even if we don't understand their mechanism of operation. Vanometrics. Architects often develop some method of interacting with space-time at a quantum level that allows repeated violation of conservation laws. Somehow, they coax the quantum foam substructure of the universe to break its usual pattern and yield more energy than it consumes. We're not sure if the energy is being taken from another dimension, or pulled from another location. Vanometric power cell? Yes. Or if the system really is somehow making 1 + 1 = 3. In any case, vanometric power tech seems to generate energy forever with no fuel. Architects seem reluctant to scale this power source up past a certain level, however, which indicates that there may be some cost to it that they don't want to pay. Psychic effectors. Archotechnology seems to be able to interact directly with the mental informational processes of biological beings. Even at a distance, basic versions of this technology can simply knock someone unconscious, or flood their mind with a single emotion. More complex interactions have been reported but are not well verified, as it is difficult to separate such cases from simple madness. We're also not sure if this means architects can read our minds, or whether their psychic power only allows them to sense thoughts. The mechanism for this is unknown and nearly impossible to study, since it only happens on a cellular level inside living intelligent brains. Monists believe the architects are using some sort of long-range quantum manipulation to push atoms around inside the brain to create this effect. Dualists believe that the architects have learned to manipulate the ethereal substructure of consciousness itself. Oh my lord, we have read through the official documents now, so that was all of that. However, the next in the document is obsolete. This section has been deprecated or removed from the game. So, yeah, RimWorld does not include faster than light travel through aliens. I'm not sure if I should still read this. We already read all of this. All of this is interesting. All of this. Okay. However, we will now start reading the assorted lore. This section includes lore from assorted sources, including backstories that is not included in the revival briefing. Named places. This section has been suggested for recoding. Reason, add a toggle to hide all the places that are just Blygses. Okay. Well, I will just read through it. Let's see. So, planet types. Ticonderoga. Unknown planet type. A planet populated with tribals and mountains. Aracena 4. Feudal world. A planet with the Nova Mosteiro dos Hieronymos monastery on it. At least 2 continents and alcohol prohibition leading to the rise of bootleggers. What is this? Rural Penza, planet type unknown. A lucrative spice mining colony out of universe. This is likely a reference to Rura Penfe, the penal colony from 1954 Disney film 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Or the Klingon penal planetoid named after it in the Star Trek universe. Calderia, planet type midworld. A world with towering forests and fern farmers. The seedy underworld of racing, illegal speeder racing, sipping in and out of the massive canopies and gorgeous vistas of the world occurred here. And Earth. Planet type Ruin World. A planet from which all known naturally evolved life originated. Humanity's diaspora from Earth occurred 3,400 years before the cryptosleep debriefing, or in the year 2100 CE, assuming the debriefing is contemporaneous with the beginning of the game in 5500. Euterp, Herb World, here we go. A planet that hosted people awakening from long periods of cryptosleep. Also had an Ordo Historia archive on World. Out of universe. Euterp was one of the muses in Greek mythology, presiding over music, and later lyric poetry. 27 Euterp is also the name of an asteroid in the inner asteroid belt, and one of the brightest asteroids in the night sky. Ah, there's an asteroid named 27 Euterp that we can look at. Sorn, planet type animal world. The original home world of the insectoids. Before being captured, genetically modified, and vat-grown by interstellar entrepreneurs for use as weapons, and exported to other worlds by parties unknown. As all seemingly alien life is claimed to have originated on Earth, it is possible that the original pre-weaponization Sorn genoline evolved from Earth life on the planet, or were already genetically engineered for some reason before being modified again. Carthago, Death World. Ah, Death World planet, that's all it says. Out of universe, this is likely a reference to Carthage, an ancient empire that fought the Roman Republic during the Punic Wars. The Romans famously destroyed Carthage and apocryphally sowed the land with salt to prevent habitation. The specific form of the name harkens to the phrase Carthago delenda est, a phrase used by Cato the Elder to advocate for the destruction of Carthage. Both are fitting references for a deaf world. We've got Wraith, Deaf World, a Deaf World planet. Spectra, Deaf World, a Deaf World planet. Grimcore, Deaf World, a Deaf World planet. Nova Hex, Deaf World, a Deaf World planet. Amenti, Glitter World, a Glitter World planet. Capital of the Star Empire, which maintains a military called Star Force, which trains its cadets at the Star Academy. Fields manned fighters launched from carrier ships, and has been involved in at least 3 wars against more advanced aggressor cultures. Relationship with Rogia, another glitter world which also hosts a Star Force, is unknown. It is possible that they are part of the same Star Empire. Kalphas 4, Glitter World, a planet with elite training school for socially gifted students on it. We've got the Harvard or Yale of the RimWorld. Utmayor, Glitter World, a Glitter World planet, presumably the location of Utmayor Academy. Canerella, Glitter World, a Glitter World planet. Caspian, Glitter World, a Glitter World planet, presumably the location of the Caspian School of Engineering. Wait, what? Dechenko, an Ice World planet. Out of universe, likely a reference to the Vanjya Glacier, a large glacier in Tajikistan, previously known as the Fedchenko Glacier prior to 2023. And then we have Baltoro, Ice World, an Ice World planet. Out of universe, likely a reference to Baltoro Glacier in Pakistan, one of the longest glaciers outside the polar regions. I did not know that. We've got Furt Whale, Ice World, an Ice World planet. Out of universe, given the naming convention used for other ice worlds. Maybe a reference to Furtwängler Glacier in Tanzania. There's one in Tanzania. Jaqua, Ice World, an Ice World planet. Christiansen, Ice World, an Ice World planet. Out of universe, likely a reference to Christensen Glacier in South Georgia, a part of the British Overseas Territory of South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. Barnes, Ice World, an Ice World planet. Out of universe, likely a reference to Barnes Glacier in Antarctica. La Grande, RimWorld, a RimWorld planet. I like saying RimWorld. Dallas, RimWorld, a RimWorld planet. Twig Falls, a RimWorld planet. Old Boys, RimWorld, a RimWorld planet. Devil's Gate, a RimWorld planet. La Remire, RimWorld, a RimWorld planet. Corliss, SteamWorld, a SteamWorld planet. Borasic, SteamWorld, a SteamWorld planet. Savory 2, SteamWorld, a SteamWorld planet. Heron, SteamWorld, a SteamWorld planet. Malmesbury, SteamWorld, a SteamWorld planet. Out of universe, possibly a reference to Malmesbury, an English town that was the site of early textile industrialization. Architoner, SteamWorld, a SteamWorld planet. Out of universe, likely a direct reference to the how do I pronounce it? Architoner, a steam-powered cannon described in the papers of Leonardo da Vinci, but that he attributed to Archimedes. Escapement, SteamWorld, a SteamWorld planet. Out of universe. Escapements are a type of mechanic linkage used in analog watches and clocks. A fitting reference given the association between steampunk and clockwork. Zaro, transcendent world. A transcendent world, so architect. Immanence 4, transcendent world. A transcendent world. Kaba, transcendent world. A transcendent world. Ein Sof, transcendent world. A transcendent world. Mitvo, a transcendent world. A transcendent world. Samyidi, transcendent world. A transcendent world. Samsai, transcendent world. A transcendent world. Seti 5, glass world. A planet with an assassin's guild. Thebes, what is this? 14, glass world. A glass world planet. Naga, glass world. A glass world planet. Merv, glass world. A glass world planet. Out of universe. Given the identical pronunciation and link to weapons of mass destruction. Likely a reference to Mervs. Mervs, or multiple independent targetable re-entry vehicle. A payload for ballistic missiles in which several warheads capable of to each targeting a different location are carried by one missile. The concept is almost invariably associated with intercontinental ballistic missiles carrying thermonuclear warheads. Purse, glass world, a glass world planet. Shechem, glass world, a glass world planet. Out of universe, Shechem was the name of an ancient Canaanite city. The relevance of this is unknown. Yel Hazor, glass world, a glass world planet. Out of universe, Tel Hazor is an archaeological site located in modern Israel. While the names do not match, the similarity of the names, the proximity of the Y and T keys, and references to Shechem as a similar site in the same source makes the similarity bear noting. Avena, herb world, an herb world planet. Esalon, herb world, an herb world planet. Enike, herb world, an herb world planet. Adosia, herb world, an herb world planet. Toch, herb world, an herb world planet. Barça, Barcelona, herb world, an herb world planet. Pubel, trash world, a trash world. What is this? Out of universe, likely a reference to poubelle, a French word meaning garbage can. Denny, what is this? I don't know what that is. Is that 11? Trash world, a trash world. Garbs, trash world, a trash world. Out of universe, a portmanteau of garbage and trash. Trash world, a trash world. Out of universe, a portmanteau of trash and garbage. Ah, so it's reversed here. Sick trash world, a trash world. Out of universe, maybe a reference to Rasik of Judge Dredd comics. Itself a euphemistic reference to the recycling of biomatter, including human corpses. Mistras, trash world, a trash world. Destria, shell world, a shell world, given the name, presumably involved in the Interdestrian War as either a battlefield or belligerent. Trophic, shell world, a shell world. Matrio, shell world, a shell world. Simon, shell world, a shell world. Sinfia, shell world, a shell world. Ferbine, shell world, a shell world. Kalos, what is that? I don't know what that is. 11? Dead world, a dead world. Presumably the site of the Kalos 11 incident, which may be the reason it is now a dead world. Haspia, dead world, a dead world. See Haspian monk. Ghost 4, dead world, a dead world. Out of universe, Ghost 4 is a Russian protection rating for ballistic armor. It is unknown if this is relevant. Barimund, dead world, a dead world. Ardar, dead world, a dead world. Kremhild, dead world, a dead world. Melisans, dead world, a dead world. Erifir, Ind world, a trading hub planet. New China, Ind world, planet. Shudders, Ind world, an Ind world. Ivor, Ind world, an Ind world. Archesta, Ind world, an Ind world. Woods, Ind world, an Ind world. Ila Delph, Ind world, an Ind world. Pichu, isn't that a Pokemon? Rune world, a rune world. Out of universe. Most of the rune worlds in this source are references to ancient rune cities. This is most likely a reference to Machu Picchu, the famous ruined Incan citadel. And we have Perdida, our rune world. A rune world out of universe. Most of the rune worlds in this source are references to ancient ruined cities. Perdida is Spanish for lost. But given the name and the naming of rune worlds, it is likely specifically a reference to Ciudad Perdida, a ruined pre-Columbian city near Santa Marta, Colombia. Hisarlik, rune world, a rune world out of universe. Most of the rune worlds in this source are references to ancient ruined cities. Hisarlik is the modern day location of the ruins of Troy, the city famously and possibly apocryphally besieged by the Greeks during the Trojan War. Rune world, not rune work, a rune world out of universe. Most of the rune worlds in this source are references to ancient ruined cities. Helaik is the name of an ancient Greek city-state, destroyed by a tsunami, and whose ruins were rediscovered in 2001. That's very recently. Cerospore, toxic world, a toxic world. Out of universe. Cerospore is also a brand name used for a form of antibiotics. Scylla, toxic world, a toxic world. Out of universe. Scylla is a character from Greek myth, originally a naiad but turned into a monster when poison was poured into the water in which she was bathing. Thylacine, animal world, an animal world. Out of universe. Thylacine is also known as the Tasmanian tiger or Tasmanian wolf, or a type of extinct carnivorous marsupial that was native to Australia and Papua New Guinea. Given the resurrection of other extinct species by genetic engineering, this may indicate that this planet was used for this purpose, and that is why it was kept an animal world. GI, animal world, an animal world. Out of universe, GI is a transliteration of the Japanese word for charity or compassion. The relevance of this, if any, is unknown. Japanese language check. Aucton, animal world, an animal world. Stellar's world, animal world, an animal world. Sophia Munda, glitter world. A techno-feudal world with castles and palaces. Native Sophians work as knights, squires, dukes, maids and swordsmiths. Revolutionists and their rebels sometimes attack those living there. People carry warhammers and persona plasma swords as personal weapons. Orbital mech cluster targeters, bioengineered plagues, and armies of fallen knights have been deployed there. Described in code comments as Sophia Munda is the Shattered Empire's home world. Generally, the canonicity of such comments is unclear, though in this instant it directly agrees with other sources. This information listed here is limited to that listed in the places file. For more information, see Empire. Obanyan, jungle world / dino world. A steamy jungle world with treetop villages, hilltop zigurats, city temples and shaman caves. Native Urbanieni work as shamans, hunters, fishers, gatherers, and goat herds. Tree harvesters and their henchmen sometimes attack those living there. People carry pila and ikwa as personal weapons. Lethal psychic drones and neurotoxin bombs have been deployed there. What do people have against the tribals? Described in code comments as a steamy world of wet jungles, strange tribes with psychic powers. They have it. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Chalice, arid world / medieval world. An arid world with moisture farms, parched towns, water centers, and high life halls. Native Chalisi work as water gatherers, lizard skinners, oasis seekers, they look for water, cactus gatherers, and scab herders. Chiefs and their sand warriors sometimes attack those living there. People carry sand arrows and cactus clubs as personal weapons. Archotech-induced sandstorms and spike lizard stampedes have been deployed there, described in code comments as an arid world of moisture farming tribes. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. And then we have Bokokaro, Shell World. A cavernous shell world with surface tunnels, fungus caverns, drip wells, and speech halls. Native Bokin work as miners, fungus growers, surface scavengers, community cooks, and frog hunters. Mine hypervisor and their abyssal marines sometimes attack those living there. People carry pickaxes and hydraulic crossbows as personal weapons. Seismic quake generation devices and black powder bombs have been deployed there, described in code comments as a subterranean world with vast caverns and a baked, inhospitable surface. Manufacturous but isolated city-states. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Nochadus, volcano world / feudal world. A dim volcano world with basalt islands, caldera lake towns, dirigible villages, and thermal fortresses. Native Nuchadians work as seismologists, lava snail farmers, tank tread repairers, and airborne scouts. Lava lords and their Stygian soldiers sometimes attack those living there. People carry obsidian daggers and harpoon rifles as personal weapons. Chem warfare bombs and Archotech-induced volcano eruptions have been deployed there, described in code comments as a chaotic volcano world far from the sun, covered with lava flows and black sand dunes. There are nomads and movable cities. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Sotera, Dino World / Animal World. A grassy dino world with trading outposts, Trent villages, mammoth burial grounds, and hilltop forts. Native Zootin work as dino riders, buffalo herders, hunters, and tough lever makers. Tusk Kings and their Tusk Warriors sometimes attack those living there. People carry bamboo staves and hunt bomb arrows as personal weapons. Fertilizer bombs and stampeding herds of Ankylosaurus, blue mammoths, and is that muffalos? And novoraptors have been deployed there, described in code comments as a grassy planet populated by megafauna. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Wavia, Oceanic World. An oceanic planet with trading atolls, floating villages, seaweed refineries, and capital bridges. Native Vavians work as fishers, pearl divers, sailmakers, captains, and seagrass gatherers. Whaler admirals and their whaler marines sometimes attack those living there. People carry harpoons and barbed nets as personal weapons. High-yield torpedoes and baited deep kraken and Vavian leviathans have been deployed there, described in code comments as a water world dotted with atolls and floating seaweed. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Out of universe, likely a reference to the 1995 post-apocalyptic action film Waterworld. Bauga 5. Junkyard planet / trash world. A junkyard planet with fortified scrapyards, rainwater processing plants, scrap towns and trader spaceports. Native Bagosinquans work as scavengers, traders, tinkerers, guards and scrapers. Junk lords and their metalheads sometimes attack those living there. People carry pipe rifles and scrap swords as personal weapons. Salvaged nukes and rust viruses have been deployed there, described in code comments as a junkyard planet of crash ships, broken machinery, scavengers and traders. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Out of universe, Bauga is the name of 8 symbols used in Taoist cosmology in a province of Peru. It is unclear if either etymology of the name is correct. The cinquan suffix of the demonym simply comes from the French term for 5. The inhabitants are literally Bauga Fiveans. Rydell, forest moon / animal world. A savage forest moon with converted dropships, low shielded encampments, communication centers and armored inhabitants or habitants. Native Rydalians work as frontier botanists, trophy hunters, medics, camp cooks and biolab engineers. Deep Corp executives and their Deep Corp enforcers sometimes attack those living there. People carry sniper rifles and machetes as personal weapons. Plant-derived neurotoxin gas and orbital laser strikes have been deployed there. Described in code comments as a forest moon filled valuable flora and with dangerous predators. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Its secondary description as an animal world is confusing, given that people apparently are living on the world. However, it may indicate that it was simply an animal world in the past or that the full colonization efforts have not begun. Iwamura, a stony asteroid. A stony asteroid with market capsules, warehouse capsules, docking piers and station bridges. Native Iwamurian work as life support engineers, merchant, flight controllers, zero-G athletes and radio hosts. Megacorp CEOs and their rent-a-cops sometimes attack those living there. People carry charge rifles and welding torches as personal weapons. Aerosolized toxins, life support sabotage viruses, and EMP strikes to the life support systems have been deployed there. Described in code comments as Iwamura is a stony asteroid housing a large trading hub. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Nova Roma, planetoid core world. A planetoid with ministries of permits, gated suburbs, overcities, undercities and megacity overhauls. Native Nova Romans work as clerks, officials, food couriers, taxi drivers and retail workers. High underlords and their undertroops sometimes attack those living there. People carry revolvers and knives as personal weapons. Alright, we've got the London. Seismic quake generation devices, cluster bombs, and nuclear suitcase bombs have been deployed there. Described in code words as ... a planetoid covered in a vast city, ruled by a bureaucracy. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. The line of high mates found on the colony's RimWorld fit the fashions of Nova Roma high mates. Out of universe, the name translates to New Rome in Latin. Nova Roma, New Rome, Nova Roma, I understand. Filson, farm world / feudal world / RimWorld. A rural farm world with fertilizer processing plants, mega granaries, water bore sites and town halls. Native Filsoners work as farmhands, fruit pickers, transport drivers, school teachers, and soil engineers. Landowners and their militia sometimes attack those living there. People carry rifles and scythes as personal weapons. Fertilizer bombs, weaponized pesticide sprays, and space lenses have been deployed there. Described in code comments as a rural planet of vast agriculture plots and territorial landowners. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Creticon, Death World. A blasted death world with bunkers, caverns, ice shelters, and directors' bunkers. Native Creticonians work as water recycler repairers, algae farmers, doctors, teachers, militia commanders, and shuttle pilots. Warlords and their mercenaries sometimes attack those living there. People carry auto pistols and LMGs as personal weapons. Shoulder-mounted nuclear missiles, orbital bombardments, chemical bombs, and hacked mechanoids have been deployed there. Described in code comments as ... a high-tech death world where everyone lives in bunkers. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. And then we have Itakin, maybe? It is an ice moon / ice planet / ice world / prison world. What prison world? What link is this? An ice moon prison with meal halls, guard barracks, detention centers, and warden's office complex. Native Itakin are detainees and escapees, or work as guards, maintenance workers, and transport drivers. Prison wardens and their corrupt guards sometimes attack those living there. People carry shivs and SMGs as personal weapons. Improvised chemical bombs and orbital laser strikes have been deployed there. Described in code comments as ... a frigid ice moon prison colony. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. The Itakin, here we go, the best. Now the xenotype is, they are quite tough, but they heal slower. The Itakin xenohumans were first engineered to populate Irak, and they've since spread to other worlds. Irak is alternatively referred to as a moon, a planet, and a world, which could apply to either. It is unclear which is canonically correct. Given the pronunciation of Itakin as Itakin, the name of the world is likely pronounced as Itak. Interesting, Itak. Chemia, a toxic war world. A toxic war world with slums, tunnel colonies, undertowns and city lord houses. Native Chemian work as street sweepers, cleanup engineers, protein farmers, taxi drivers, and weapon builders. Poison lords and their venom soldiers sometimes attack those living there. People carry gas bombs and toxic flamethrowers as personal weapons. Nuclear dirty bombs, bioengineered plagues, and penetrating toxic bombs have been deployed there. Described in code comments as ... a toxic, overcrowded world with an oppressive government. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. A glitter world... What? Glitter world Rogia. Glitter world. A glitter tech world with medical institutes, space elevators, robotics factories, and a planetary capital. Native Rogians work as Star Force cadets, artisan farmers, social media prodigies, zero-G athletes, and glitter tech smugglers. Corrupt bureaucrats and their bionic guards sometimes attack those living there. People carry charge lances and persona monoswords as personal weapons. Antimatter warheads, weaponized computer viruses, and remote-controlled mechanoid workers have been deployed there. Described in code comments as ... a world of windy prairies and towering glittertech cities. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Relationship with Amenti, another glitter world which also hosts a star force, is unknown. It is possible that they are part of the same star empire, of which Amenti is the capital. Xenotypes, a mineral planet. An exploited mineral planet with strip mines, ore refineries, nutrient-paste cafeterias, the worst part, and oxygen depots. Native Xanidians work as miners, supervisors, technicians, mechanics, and life support engineers. Minecrop bosses and their Minecrop Corp... Minecrop bosses and their Minecorp troops sometimes attack those living there. People carry electro batoons and auto pistols as personal weapons. Blasting charges and EMP strikes to the life support systems have been deployed there. Described in code comments as a small strip mining planet with a thin atmosphere. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Lutini, a core world. A rainforest paradise with augmentation clinics, hyper yachts, zero-G stadia, and space elevator complexes. Native Lutini work as tourist guides, zero-G performance, Luciferium distributors, virtual celebrities, and shuttle pilots. Entertainment moguls and their reinforcement or enforcers sometimes attack those living there. People carry vibro knives and charge pistols as personal weapons. Structural disintegration, bacterium, and smuggled orbital bombardment targeters have been deployed there. Described in code comments as a rainforest paradise and glitter world tourist destination. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. Zartza, Death World. A Death World planet, given the name, presumably involved in the Zanoa Zartza War, as either a battlefield or belligerent. It is unknown whether the planet was a Death World before the conflict. Vina, Medieval World. A medieval world with raiders, mudlands, and a number of settlements. Formora Prime, Core World, a core world. Out of universe, maybe a reference to Gomorrah, a biblical city destroyed by God for its wickedness, or the Comorra, an Italian mafia organization and criminal society. Glossolia, Core World, a core world. Out of universe, maybe a reference to glossolalia, commonly called speaking in tongues, the practice of uttering words or speech-like sounds believed by some to have religious meaning. Barbaros, core world, a core world. Out of universe means barbarians in Spanish. Also possibly a reference to the famous corsair Hayreddin Barbosa or the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick Barbosa. Atura, asteroid. An asteroid may be the location of Atura Station. Ranomi, asteroid. An asteroid. Taxlos, asteroid, an asteroid. Aryan Sigma, asteroid, an asteroid. Aesh 265, asteroid, an asteroid. Widdershins, asteroid, an asteroid. Out of universe. Widdershins is a term meaning to go counterclockwise. To walk around an object by always keeping it on the left. Or to take a course opposite the apparent motion of the sun. It is also associated with being unlucky. The relevance, such as whether it describes the orbit of the asteroid, is unknown. Ainio, Dino World, a Dino World. Out of universe, Ainio is the name of an Ainiosaurus, a Ceratopsian in the Nintendo game series Fossil Fighters, in which fossils of prehistoric animals are revived and have powers as a result. It is unclear whether the name is a reference specifically to the series or simply to the real Ceratopsian, if either. Baryonyx, Dino World, a dino world, out of universe. Baryonyx is a genus of theropod dinosaur, as well as the common name used to refer to the Baryonyx valkyrie species. Venator, Dino World, a dino world. I've been playing a lot of Arc Raiders. This is a name of a gun in the game. Out of universe, Venator means hunter in Latin, which is already a fitting name for a dino world. However, it is also used in the construction of a number of dinosaur names, including the carnivorous theropod dinosaurs, the Neovenator and Viavenator. Ancilo, Dino World, a dino world. Brach, Dino World, a dino world, out of universe. The name may be a reference to Brachiosaurus, a genus of sauropod dinosaur. Mauro, Toxic World, a toxic world. Oxy 6, Toxic World, a toxic world. Ambatus, Toxic World, a toxic world. Soleno, Toxic World, a toxic world. Sanguine, Toxic World, a toxic world, out of universe. Sanguine is an obsolete spelling of sanguine, a term both meaning pertaining to blood and optimistic. Sanguiphagus, sanguine, I did not know that. Vanu, War World. A war world, presumably the location of the Vanu Defense College. Out of universe, possibly a reference to the Vanu sovereignty, a faction in the game Planetside. Somnium, War World, a war world. Out of universe, Somnium was a nation-state in ancient Italy that was belligerent in a number of wars with the Roman Republic. Kairos, War World, a war world, out of universe. As the name Kairos is a derivative of Cyrus, it may be a reference to Cyrus the Great, the founder of the Achaemenid Empire and conqueror. Punica, War World, a war world. Out of universe, Punicina is the name of the genus of plants that includes the pomegranate, which derives from the Latin term for Carthaginian apple. Given the war-related nature, likely a more general reference to the term Punic, meaning of or relating to ancient Carthage, an ancient empire that fought the Roman Republic during the Punic Wars. Cimbria 12? War World, a war world. Out of universe, likely a reference to the Cimbri, a Germanic tribe from the Cimbrian Peninsula in what is now Jutland. The Cimbri invaded Gaul and fought the Roman Republic in a series of battles, including the devastating Battle of Arusio, in which almost a dozen Roman legions were destroyed. Barkitos, War World, a war world. Chateo Duoen, Prison World, a prison world. Out of universe, given the prison connection, possibly a reference to Château du Five, the infamous French prison for political and religious prisoners, notable for its use in Alexandre Dumas' novel The Count of Monte Cristo. Casmina, Prison World, a prison world. Howlo, Prison World, a prison world, out of universe. Likely a reference to Howlo Prison, commonly referred to by its Vietnam War era nickname, the Hanoi Hilton. A prison in what is now Vietnam, infamous for the mistreatment and torture of its prisoners under both French and North Vietnamese governments. Boran, Prison World, a prison world. Aldgate, Prison World, a prison world. Out of universe, possibly a reference to and pun on Newgate Prison, a prison in London, England, that was built in 1188 and used for over 700 years. Port Basil, Prison World, a prison world. Out of universe, Given the prison connection, possibly a reference to Port Arthur, a town in Tasmania. Australia originally founded as a penal colony for transportees from Great Britain. Alright, so that was the planet types. Now for, well, I don't know what, but let's continue to read. So, the rim worlds on which gameplay takes place have randomly generated names. Due to both their limited application and randomly generated nature, the randomly generated names of these rim worlds are considered semi-mechanical only and are not listed here. Prefixed world names. World names in generated text can sometimes be prefaced by kun and ur. Additionally, references to rituals named after the worlds but prefixed with a ka are also mentioned. The significance of these prefixes is unknown. Systems. Xenoa system, hosted a military base, has a military with infantry space jets involved in the Xenoa Zarza War. Other. Utmayur Academy, prestigious academy on a glitter world, presumably located on Utmayur. Vanu Defense College, teaches young cadets proficiency in a range of weapons and survival skills, presumably located on Vanu. Out of Universe, possibly a reference to the Vanu sovereignty, a faction in the game planetside. Caspian School of Engineering, a glitter world school that offers mathematics and computer programming in its curriculum, presumably located on Caspian. Atura Station, an orbital shipyard with shuttle docks, manufacturing rings, residential rings, and a central control room. Native Aturans work as construction drone operators, managers, test pilots, sales agents, and 3D printer technicians. Crime bosses and their thugs sometimes attack those living there. People carry tasers and arc welders as personal weapons. EMP strikes to the life support systems and remote-controlled welding drones have been deployed there. Described in code comments as an orbital dry dock and construction yard. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. May be located at, built from, or otherwise related to the asteroid Atura. Zeglar colonies purchases slaves, including for male prostitution. New Jerusalem, unknown if even a real place, or a place at all, only mentioned by Golden Cube obsessed pawns talking about a cubic New Jerusalem. I did not know that. And then we have a rim world, a rimworld's moon, a rimworld's moon, a rimworld's moon. So, yeah. All of this looks nice. All of the moons. A rimworld sun. That looks very nice, huh? But that's like white. Anyways. Events. Sarfa Crisis. Apparently a military conflict fought over many worlds in both ground and air domains with fighters and fighter controllers deployed. Interdestrian War, ostensibly a military conflict that occurred at least one generation ago, in the aftermath and or resulting instability of which people were captured and sold into slavery, presumably involved Destria as either a battlefield or belligerent. Kalos 11 incident, James Doc Gray performed unethical experiments on the survivors of this incident, and when the experiments were published, he was exiled. Presumably occurred on Kalos 11 and may be the reason it is now a dead world. Xenoa Zarza War, a military conflict presumably fought either in or by a polity from the Zona system, presumably either on or against a polity based on the planet Zarza. Infantry and space jets were deployed during the conflict. Next up we have planet types, but from what I know, these planet world types... is this more advanced than what we read in the official document? It is actually, so... let's see. Let us see. Dead world, distinct from death worlds. These are planets which have not been significantly contacted by humans. Generally not inhabitable. All planets are like this before people arrive for the first time. Distinct from dead worlds and sometimes spelled as death world. The meaning of the term death world appears to correlate with the common usage of the term in science fiction discussion, namely a planet that is technically habitable but incredibly hostile to human life. Imps are described as originally being designated for dry death worlds, while wasters are designed for post-apocalyptic death worlds. Books about the battery research can reference an acid lake on the leaden shores of a death world who worked as a natural battery. Criticon is described as a blasted world, death world, while it is further described in code comments as ... a high-tech death world, while Iwaba is described in code comments as a regrown death world. However, the canonicity of such comments is unclear. The disparate natures of these examples support the concept that why a death world is hostile to human life is not important to the definition, only that it is hostile. Despite the difficulty of living on these planets, some are still inhabited. Books about the tox gas research can reference the author researching cloud control tech for the tyrannocracy of a death world, which implies not only people living on the planet, but a system of government. Zarza, Raif, Spectra, Genova Hex, Carthago, and Grimcore are also referenced as being death worlds. We read about that. Animal world, planets with no people. Either everyone died, or the planet was seeded with plant and animal life by terraforming robots and nobody arrived. It is apparently not exclusive with a dino world, which may, in fact, be a subtype of this category. Medieval worlds, similar to Earth from the agricultural revolution until the industrial revolution. Social structures are usually feudal or imperial. Planets can stay in this state for millennia. Steam world, similar to Earth in the 19th century, often this state is short-lived. Our societies develop into mid-worlds, but it can be very stretched out depending on culture and government structure. Mid-world, worlds whose people have mastered flight, but not cheap interplanetary travel. Earth is in this stage in the 21st century. Herb world, super high-density planets dominated by cities. Herb worlds' population growth outstripped their social and technological development, so they tend to be overcrowded, polluted, violent places. The people here are often callous towards strangers. We read about this. This is often the outcome for mid-worlds that see their demographic transition to lower birth reversed by dysgenic reproduction patterns. Herb worlds can build mechanoids. Some herb worlds have worldwide cities ruled by corporations. Herb worlds can be ancient. Some even have greedy nobility and spire palaces, while cannibal cults exist in the deepest reaches of the underground hive. Interesting, so cyberpunk? Anyways. My throat is starting to hurt a bit. So much lore. Glitter worlds. The most technologically advanced societies that can be led by humans, swaddled in comforts by the strong arms of technology. Glitter worlds are the peak of recognizable human society in terms of art, health, and generous human rights. Common people from these planets often lack grit and are very trusting in people and technology. Likely synonymous with glitter tech world. Glitter worlds are mostly free of disease and human suffering. and surgeons employed there mostly perform elaborate and creative cosmetic surgeries and never have to remove a cancer or a bullet. While glitter worlds are peaceful places and some units rarely see action, they often remain prepared for war. Despite this tendency towards peace, some glitter worlds do field space navies and engage in active campaigns against enemy cultures. On some glitter worlds, all manual work was done by robots and people devoted themselves to leisure. Okay, that might be us. This extends to some technical fields as well, such as AI handling all the technical aspects of architecture, allowing architects to focus on artistic expression. This is not universal, however, as others still had humans washing dishes in restaurants. Farms are operated on some glitter worlds, though all but rare exceptions have abandoned traditional farming methods for glitter world technologies. Glitter world police forces were often equipped with recon armor and helmets. Ooh. Some glitter worlds have mechanoid companions for children or us workers. At least some glitter worlds apparently remain capitalist, as attending their universities can leave a person in enormous debt and corporations exist. At least some glitter worlds were monarchy, yeah. With royal households that would intermarry with the royal families of other planets. See also Sophia Munda and the Empire for more information about a specific glitter world society. RimWorlds, planets lacking in strong central government and low in population density. These places tend to hover around the industrial level of technology or lower, because they're not homogenized by a central government. They tend to see a lot of interaction between people of different technology levels. As travelers crash land or ancient communities stumble out of their cryptosleep vaults, these people are often at the rim of known space, hence the name. So from the official briefing, this is the same, but I think this has been expanded upon, so I'm just gonna read through it all. Let's see. Core world, based on the name, may be the worlds that form the astrographical or political core of human civilization, perhaps including Earth and other early colonies. Alternatively, may be worlds located in the galactic core or some other definition. In the now non-canon RimWorld universe quick primer, core worlds and RimWorlds were instead defined in opposition to each other. Core worlds were those planets in the galactic core whose social and technological development benefited from the clustering of stars. And thus other cultures in the core, RimWorlds, were in turn those planets outside the core and thus further away from neighbors. However, with the new canon definition for RimWorld, it's likely that this definition of core and RimWorlds has become non-canon, probably because the galactic core is significantly beyond the 1200 light-year wide canonical expansion of humanity, possibly synonymous with planets in the core region, which includes at least one glitter world, appear to be relatively advanced and stable, with at least mid-world level surgical capabilities, planetary governments, and sufficient competent military forces to push out both anarchists and fairly large mercenary forces. Toxic world. Worlds destroyed by pollution, chemical or nuclear warfare, but still inhabitable at a low level. With sufficient technology, toxic may be a limited definition, or may only relate to humans, as some toxic worlds are overgrown with hostile plant life. Glass world. Worlds utterly destroyed by high-energy weapons of mass destruction. We read about this. They're nicknamed marbles because their surfaces have been glassed. Nuclear weapons aren't enough to glass a planet, so this level of destruction is rare. On some of these worlds, people can walk outdoors for a time without dying. None of them harbor permanent life bigger than a paramecium, Transcendent world. It's a stretch to call these entities worlds, since they resemble giant computers more than they resemble planets. The mechanics of these planets is mysterious, but many scholars believe transcendence are the outcome when a sovereign architect decides to incorporate a whole planet into itself. End worlds, distinct from industrial worlds, these are worlds undergoing their industrial revolution. Industrial world, distinct from end worlds, these are worlds devoted predominantly to industry. Some host large factory cities. Farming planet, worlds devoted predominantly to farming, not necessarily technologically backwards, with some using automated machinery that grow and harvest a multitude of crops, likely synonymous with farm worlds. Prison planet, worlds where convicts are condemned to remove malefactors from society. Feudal world, multi-planet feudal empires besides the empire exist. Trash planets, dumping grounds for surrounding glitter worlds. Junkyard planet, apparently self-descriptive, possibly synonymous with trash planets as they are ostensibly similar titles, and Bauga 5 is defined as both in different places. However, given the name possibly differentiated by being intended to allow salvage and scrapping rather than simply dumping. Ice world, apparently self-descriptive, plants are rare. Dino world, apparently self-descriptive, worlds inhabited by dinosaurs and other megafauna, likely resurrected through genetic engineering. Mentioned species of a single example dino world include Ankylosaurus, blue mammoths, and novoraptors. It is apparently not exclusive with an animal world and may, in fact, be a subtype of that category. War worlds, worlds stuck in an endless cycle of war. These planets are typically overpolluted due to constant usage of bombs and chemical weapons. Mineral planet, unknown definition, likely descriptive of either their natural resources or their economic product. Oceanic planet, apparently self-descriptive. Other worlds. Beyond these categories, there are many exceptional planets in strange states created by their peculiar social and technological evolutions. Given the scale and age of the universe, there is a lot of time and space for a lot of very strange situations to develop. Now then, additional facts. Steam worlds and mid-worlds aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Industrial planets and mid-worlds may not necessarily be mutually exclusive. Several spacer or glitter tech societies, including Iwamura, Rogia, and Lutuni, host zero-G sports with professional athletes competing. Some in zero-G stadia. Lutuni also hosts zero-G performers of an unknown type. Technologies and militaries. A variety of militaries exist in various styles, structures, purposes, and technology levels. This include naval and space-based fleets, ground infantry, orbital troopers, spaceship-to-spaceship boarding actions, and a massive variety of super soldier projects. Militaries and military technology. Space Marines, Warhammer, a role filled by human warriors. Some serve on the navy ships of spacefaring empires, where they punch into enemy starships, gun down the crew, and capture the ship intact. Others serve in the security forces of off-planet corporations, defending ships against pirates and engaging in private space warfare contacts. I need to drink some water. One organization of Space Marines was the Interplanetary Marines, which fought on behalf of a particular planet. Colony Contact Expeditionary Forces employ Space Marine medics. Marine armor and marine helmets were often used by Rapid Incursion Space Marines. Go Juice was developed as a combat drug for Space Marines during the early days of interplanetary warfare. Navy Pathfinders, a group of military explorers dedicated to charting pathways through deep space and on remote planets. Mechanoids, some militaries deploy combat mechanoids in their militaries. Charged pistols exist, vibro knives exist. Archotech Mass Inverter, a mass weapon of unknown description created by Archotechs? I want to use that in RimWorld, demolish the world. Tasers exist. Mega Cannon, a frighteningly powerful long-range cannon for artillery or anti-ship use. Ship types, interplanetary super destroyer, such as the HMS Thunderchild of the Royal Fleet. Starfighters, combat spacecraft and are flown by starfighter pilots for militaries. See also manned fighters. Manned fighters, spacecraft launched from carrier ships and flown by fighter pilots. Military space jet, deployed in the Xenotypes War. Carrier ships, carry manned fighters, carried escape pods. Carrier ships reminds me of StarCraft. Fighter bombers, fielded by the Empire, a fighter bomber designed specialized in spreading incendiary gel on flammable targets, presumably an atmospheric craft. Space yacht, a human-piloted pleasure craft and transport for the well-to-do, such as wealthy businessmen and politicians. Space cruiser, a manned space capable ship of some kind. Consular ship, such as the Saint Anthem, carried Glitter World diplomats on diplomatic tasks. Hyper yacht, unknown, possibly a Glitter World pleasure craft, but the canonicity of code comments are unclear. Escape pod, carried by starships, used to escape crippled or destroyed ship. So, ship of unknown type and range, so all the ships here. From RimWorld Biotech, RimWorld Royalty, everything. Other technologies. Substance F, a drug. Mind wiping and mental reprogramming. Practice on some herb worlds. See also body confiscation. Body confiscation. Some herb worlds will confiscate criminals' bodies for use. Autocycle, a mid-world vehicle. Netcast, a mid-world audio medium. VidTube, a popular video sharing service, hosted everything from video game reviews to pasta cooking guides. Some had over 1 million followers on the service. Maybe this channel will have 1 million followers, VCount. People on the service were called VidTubers, stars, or VidTuber stars, or VidTubers, YouTubers, VTubers. Now we have holography, including interactive holography, which gives form to artificial intelligences to allow them to interact. VR, accesses to a virtual gaming universe by spinal plug, can be addictive. Unplugging during play can create a mental backlash and merge the real and virtual identities. Sword Art Online can also be used to raise children or teach professions. Neuro Simulator, a technology available on Glitter Worlds that apparently lets you experience a simulation of exploring the stars and possibly other scenarios. Relationship to VR unknown. Vat-grown, genetically modified living creatures, including humans, grown in a lab and usually designed and programmed for a specific task, capable of being produced on some herb worlds. Examples of roles for which vat-grown humans were produced include soldiers, combat medics, assassins, slave girls, which are illegal at least in some places, and even scientists with minds perfectly tuned for physics and chemistry. The same process, along with genetic modification, was also used in the weaponization of the original Zorn gene line into the current insectoid species. Ah, no, perfect mates. Genetically engineered on Glitter Worlds are fertile and capable of producing children. Their relation to vat-grown highmates is currently unknown. However, a currently unused backstory in the game file states they, or at least some, are vat-grown in hyper-expensive clinics to serve the taste of a specific client. A cat girl. They are engineered, raised and trained as a perfect pleasure-giving mate, with learned skills that would baffle even the most seductive baseline human lovers. The canonicity of these statements are also currently unknown. Genome Project. A genetic engineering project that created humans implanted at birth with encyclopedic knowledge of all aspects of xenobiology, presumably on a glitter world, relation to vat-grown unknown. Lab-grown children, an altruistic but failed attempt to create a new class of human, method in relation to similar concepts unknown. Clone farming. Clone children are seeded into nutrient-rich womb vats and grown rapidly in a simmed, i.e. VR universe. They're harvested later, sometimes for food, sometimes for organs, sometimes for workers, but they're always disposable. Harvesting the products of clone farms is mostly done by the clones themselves, particularly to those whose sims tended towards the social. Online hive minds. Worldwide system that sacrifices the people's individuality to join together in an online hive mind. Space elevators. A number of planets use space elevators. 3D printers, used on orbital shipyards in some capacity. Glitterpedia, a glitter world technology through which Glitterpedia recorders document information. Likely analogous to Wikipedia. What is this site called? RimWorld Wiki? Eltex, a material, threads of which can be embedded in specialized armor or clothing to enhance their wearer's psychic sensitivity. It is technically indeterminate whether it is responsible for improving neural heat dissipation. However, as Eltex is the only noted difference between prestige armors and their standard variants, it is likely the case. It is possible that Eltex is simply one of, or the most significant of, the special psychic focusing materials mentioned in the description of Eltex clothing. King Lotharic, a king of an unknown kingdom in an unknown world, died in an unfortunate accident. Grady Lohman, a kingpin of a drug cartel. Lord Explorer Varandur, an explorer who was made into the first Anguphage by an architect they tried to control. RimWorld Biotech. Named groups. Domben Rats, a notorious and violent urchin gang. Out of universe, Domben is an area in Brisbane, Australia, named after a racecourse and associated horse race. The relevance, if any, is unknown. Core Stars Entertainment Company, an entertainment organization that buys people to appear in its shows. One of their shows is apparently called Blood Game. Arcanite Industries, a company that employs space truckers. Next up we have animals. Name, third xenohuman. Exist on a cold rim world of at least industrial level, may refer to Idakin or some other third xenotype. Transbird, exist in crewed and presumably captained starships. In the now non-canon long sleep revival briefing, the prefix trans indicated animals with intelligence in the human range from breeding, evolution and genetic engineering, including recombination with human DNA. They also included physical changes to the animal's body to better exploit the new intelligence. Trans animals can read, use tools, form teams, hold conversations, and think about complex ideas. Trans dog, trans bear, trans goat, transsimian were given as examples. This likely implies that the portion of the lore remains canon and that trans birds are modified, intelligent birds. An optical. Present on made worlds in agriculture setting in the now non-canon long sleep revival briefing. The prefix opti indicated animals with enhanced but still subhuman intelligence from breeding, evolution, and genetic engineering, including recombination with human DNA. They also included physical changes to the animal's body to better exploit the new intelligence. Opti animals can usually use tools, form long-term goals, and organize into primitive social groups, but can't speak more than a few words, read, or think abstractly. Opti dogs, opti pigs, opti whales, and opti monkeys were given as examples. This likely implies that that portion of the lore remains canon, and that opti cows are modified semi-intelligent cows. Lava snail, that we know, RimWorld Odyssey, farmed on the dim volcano world of Nukadus. Deep Kraken, I want that as a DLC. Used as weapons on the oceanic planet of Vavia. The variable type assigned to the name is Sea Beast, and Kraken are traditionally monstrous sea creatures, however this is not strictly canon. Vavian Leviathan. Used as a weapon on the oceanic planet of Vavia. The variable type assigned to the name is Sea Beast, and Leviathans are traditionally monstrous sea creatures, however this is not strictly canon. Pygmy Wombat, a furry animal. Ankylosaurus, megafauna found on Dino worlds, likely reproductions of the dinosaurs of the same name resurrected through genetic engineering. Blue Mammoth, megafauna found on Dino worlds, likely reproductions of the ancient elephantid of the same name resurrected through genetic engineering, and possibly with modifications similar to the muffalo to make them blue, that's what I said. Mammoth burial grounds are mentioned as existing on the world of Zootera. However, whether this is natural behavior like the mythical elephant's graveyard or something created by the human inhabitants of that world is unclear. Novoraptors. Megafauna found on dino worlds, likely reproductions or variants of the Dromaeosaurids and similar dinosaurs commonly given the raptor suffix, resurrected through genetic engineering. Given the name, it is possible that they are not pure reproductions of previously existing raptor species, but rather some variant or combination thereof. Thorny Devil, a reptile discovered by Venus Une David, relation to the real species Molochoridus, also called the Thorny Devil, is unknown, but presumably they are distinct. Boom rats. The origin of the boom rat has varied over time. In the initial release of the revival briefing, which is now considered non-canon, they were described as originating as a biological weapon that survived and bred after wars on the worlds they now inhabit. The current version of the revival briefing states that they, along with the boomalope, were originally engineered as a primitive renewable fuel source. While this holds true for boomalopes, boom rats cannot and could never be milked for chem fuel in-game. That is true. Meanwhile, their current in-game description also disagrees with the current briefing and supports the now obsolete original version, stating that their explosive tendencies are either a result of deliberate weaponization or intended as a defense mechanism. Boom rats are likely one of the camp fuel producing animals mentioned in the boom shroom's description as being engineered from the boom shroom's genetic material. Ooh, RimWorld Odyssey. Boom rat Pisa is briefly mentioned in a Backer Pond backstory. Other. Mechanoid wars are common. Religions are still present and practiced. See also Empire for their specific religion. All Might, the name of a superhero, presumably fictional, out of universe. This is likely a reference to the character of the same name in the My Hero Academia. We've got My Hero Academia anime here. Multimedia franchise. Frame Project is an unknown government that leaves its subjects with memory losses. Only few survive. Caspian Monk. A Haspian monk lived in a monastery 1,000 years before the events of the game. Approximately year 4500, what? Before the monastery was erased by a Diabolus attack, presumably has some relation to Haspia, but what that relationship is unclear. It may be merely the demonym of the monk, i.e. a monk from Haspia with the monastery being anywhere. It may be a demonym of the monastery, i.e. a monastery of monks in Haspia, regardless of the origins of the individual monks themselves. Or it may be that the origin of the order the monks belong to pertains to Haspia in a similar way to Benedictine monks or Carmelite nuns, i.e. the monastery follows tenets originating from or relating to Haspia in some way. Given the monastery was noted as being destroyed in a mechanoid attack and Haspia is a dead world, the second explanation seems to have the most weight. Boom shrooms. The chemical producing animals mentioned... Is this mispronounced? The chemical producing animals mentioned in the description are most likely references to boomanopes and boom rats. The initial release of the revival briefing, which is now considered non-canon, describes rocket trees which form rocket fuel in their cores over many years. They were created as a fuel source and are extremely dangerous in a fire. The similarity in use and danger are notable. The similarity in use and danger are notable. And given the now non-canonicity of rocketries, boom shrooms may represent the current state of the original concept, so RimWorld Odyssey. Xenotypes. Dirt moles. After the first tunnel colonies failed due to the stress of confinement, colonization agencies began genetically alternating colonists to live without open space or sunlight. This xenotype is known as colloquially as the dirt moles. Today, dirt moles have expanded out of their original tunnel homes and rule many confined spaces in the anthroposphere. It can be found in deep mines, cramped low-tech spacecraft, and teeming by the billions in the dark underlayers of countless herb worlds. With grey skin adapted to artificial sunlight, or light, they thrive in cramped and dark spaces where combat and travel happen over short distances. They are extremely capable at digging, mining tasks, and navigating complex tunnel structures. In the open, however, they suffer from a sensitivity to light, slow speed, and poor eyesight at distance. Genies. Genies were engineered thousands of years ago by a long disbanded space navy to hold engineering positions on large space starships. Today, genies still serve as engineers in great cities and fleets, but many can also be found working as lawyers, pilots, and musicians. Designed to be engineers, genies' delicate bones and natural aptitude with machines allow them to manipulate devices with remarkable precision. They are emotionally cold and can follow orders where others might panic. However, they are fragile, and their amplified nerve impulses make them easy to debilitate with relatively little pain. With so much of their brains dedicated to analyzing machines, they lack the neural hardware to analyze emotions. So they sometimes come off as socially inept. Their dead calm makes it even harder for them to relate to what they see as madly hot-headed baseliner humans. Hi mates, empathetic and effortlessly beautiful, these designed companions and concubines have the unique ability to physically bond with a mate. In a certain context, they seem to be perfect, happy, charming, and kind. However, they are also inept at manual tasks, physically weak, and mentally incapable of violence, even if their life depends on it. On a few wealthy worlds, high-mate xenogerms are commercially available and some people become high-mates as a sort of career. However, many societies find them abhorrent, either because they distract people from forming natural families, or because they are human shaped to serve the pleasures of another. On such worlds, they are either reserved as playthings of the powerful, or banned entirely. This particular line of high-mate fits the fashions of classical Nova Roma, but many other variants exist. High-mates are similar to so-called perfect mates in both concept and mate. However, information of unknown canonicity implies that perfect mates are instead vat grown from birth rather than a xenotype implanted onto existing people. Designer mates, as mentioned in the lore primer, are also similar but are distinct as their traits are inheritable. Hussars. Hussars are engineered soldiers. They fight aggressively and with precision, heal fast, thrive in extreme temperatures, and freely ingest military drugs. They have a genetic dependence on the drug go juice, which also makes them less likely to rebel against their commanders. While Hussars' emotions make them dangerous in combat, they can't relate to baseliner humans. They are famous for their blood-red eyes and Hussar stare, a dead expression that unsettles many people. Their lack of expression and burning aggressive nature has led to many violent misunderstandings. In most societies where they live, Hussars are kept separated from the rest of the population. Hussars are single-purpose tools, and they generally aren't bothered by the fact. Impids, made for desert life, Impid cultures live on many rimworlds and dry death worlds. Outlanders call them dust runners because of their speed over open terrain and resistance to heat. Some tribes call them devils because of their horns and because they burn their enemies. Impids are extremely fast moving, easily tolerate high temperatures and can spew fire from their mouths. Though they are masters on the sand, Impids struggle in other environments. They are terrible with farming and have weak immune systems. They fight well at range, but in close combat they do little damage, and their physical weakness becomes apparent. Impid tribes' combat tactics usually center on rapid approach incendiary attacks using both handheld fire weapons and their fire spew ability. This is reflected in the particular tribes encountered in game. They have no intention of coexisting peacefully with anyone else, and their warriors are experts at using their natural speed and flame attacks to burn the towns and children of other peoples. They have been on the planet for thousands of years, and the origins of this tribe are lost in myth. They might descend from a group of settlers who lost their technology, or an Impid community in some long-ruined civilization. Note that this places the origin of the xenotype to approximately 3500 at the least, as it is thousands of years prior to the 5500 date of the game. So Neanderthals, pigskins, Saniphages, Wasters, and Edakin. Okay, but might be too much lore. No, but let's continue. Edakin descend from colonists engineered to thrive on ultra-cold planets. Their great size and fur make them hardy in frozen environments. Edakin share a psychic connection with the wildlife, with whom they can communicate both vocally and physically, and they can summon animals to their side during battles. They are not fast or energetic or precise, but can keep going when others would have collapsed long before. Since they migrated off their icy birth world of Etak, Edakin settlements live on many planets where they now pursue their traditional lifestyle. Their fur, roaring voices, and aversion to urban living sometimes leads naive outsiders to believe they are simple-minded animals. Quick-minded Edakin are happy to make good use of such wrong beliefs, whether at the negotiating table or on the battlefield. Etak itself is referred to elsewhere as an ice moon prison. For more information, see the Etak lore entry. Edakin pirates are close-knit bands of Edakin that chose to be isolated and refuse to deal with outsiders. They are quick to call their animal warriors against those who disrespect them, or whose wealth they intend to take. These animals are referred to as wild, implying that they are not tamed and may simply be rounded up and physically called by the band before raids, rather than being kept. Also notable is that the pirate faction is implied to be their traditional lifestyle. Whether this refers to their isolationism, internal clan traditions, piracy, or all of the above is unclear. The use of terms such as roar clan, tribe, clan, pack, family, and kinroar to describe the faction imply, at least, that a traditional culture structure is maintained, however. Irakins seem to also have their own language, or at least their own naming structure for people and places. Ooh, psychas. Psychas. An organic connection to a larger psychic field. This allows a person to psychically induce a distant architect superintelligence to influence reality in ways that seem impossible. Higher levels of Psylink permit the use of more powers. Regardless of Psylink level, a person can only use specific powers that they have learned. Psylink comes from a variety of sources. Single-use Psylink neuroformer devices can create a Psylink. Tribal peoples also know how to develop it through ritual linking with the legendary anima tree. As a physical phenomenon in the brain, Psylink is poorly understood by scientists. Not the least because it seems to actively conceal itself if studied too closely. One thing most agree on is that it somehow connects people to architects and harnesses their power, possibly through some sort of negotiation or sympathy mechanism. FTL inconsistencies. Despite millennia of effort by our best human minds, and even the most powerful architects, nobody has managed to make anything go faster than light. Current canon cryptosleep briefing. The current canon of RimWorld is that there is no faster than light travel, even in the hands of the otherwise incomprehensibly advanced architects. However, the existence of certain in-game mechanics bring this into question. Most relevant to this discussion are skipping psychas from royalty. Skipping. Skip is a term used to describe the in-universe mechanism to teleport moving things from a spot to another, so it's like faster than light. These effects typically share audiovisual cues and come from a variety of sources. The Royalty DLC originally introduced the concept of skipping, and featured a class of psychas with blue ability icons that's similar teleportation mechanics. These psychas includes Chunk Skip, Solar Pinhole, Water Skip, Chaos Skip, Smoke Pop Skip, Wall Race, Flash Storm, Mass Chaos Skip, Far Skip, and Skip Shield. The Anomaly DLC added further examples, including the following, which explicitly uses the same in-universe mechanism of action. The Skip Abduction Psychic Ritual skips its victim to the Psychic Ritual spot, often from a great distance. The DLC also further mechanics that share similar, if not identical, audiovisual effects with skip-type psychas, implying that they have the same mechanisms of function. The Void Monolith, Noctilith, Metal Horror, Nosiosphere, Golden Cube, Natural Corpse, and Void Structure can all teleport into your colony as their entry method. Skipping is the only method a Nosiosphere uses to move itself around. Crushing the Golden Cube with collapsed rocks causes it to teleport itself away. The Unnatural Corpse can teleport itself to its target to haunt or hypnotize them. The Warped Obelisk rapidly teleport very large amounts of items and pawns in and out of the labyrinth while it is operating. The Grey Statue teleport pawns around the labyrinth internally. The Void Monolith can teleport pawns to the Metal Hell, and the Void Node later teleport them out of there. Skip and Far Skip. Both skip and far skip moves the target seemingly instantaneously. For far skip, this is to a point that could feasibly be anywhere on the planet, so long as willing ally is there to act as a navigation beacon. While both sidecast have a casting time, the targets don't move around during this time and instead only travel after the time is complete. Let's see here. Therefore, that is not sufficient to dismiss the argument of faster than light travel. As far skip has the longer range, it will be the focus for reasons that will become apparent. At its widest point, the Earth's diameter 12,756 kilometers. Assuming the RimWorld is similarly sized to Earth, then this is the maximum distance a far skip can travel, point to point. Traveling this distance at the speed of light would take 42.55 milliseconds. Time in RimWorld is sped up, with a full 24-hour day only taking 16 minutes and 40 seconds. So from the player's perspective, this 42.55 milliseconds of in-game time would appear only as 0.49 milliseconds. Unlikely as this is due to none of the other effects of being on so a large planet without being present. If the RimWorld is not Earth-sized and was instead as large as the largest rocky planet discovered at the time of writing, BD plus 20 degrees 594b, then this would increase to 1.1 milliseconds. In either case, the difference between this speed and truly instant would be utterly imperceptible to a human player. A far skip on an Earth-sized planet would require a roughly 2000 Hz refresh rate just to display the difference between a faster than light and a STL far skip. In other words, there is no discernible difference between a faster than light and STL far skip. And so far skip cannot be assumed to break the no faster than light rule. Skip is also apparently instantaneous and deals with even shorter distances and thus even shorter travel times. Therefore there is also no reason to assume that skip violates the rule. Solar pinhole. Solar pinhole mechanically skips material from the core of a nearby star. Unlike skip and far skip, we do not observe the target matter beginning its journey. Thus, the effect can begin as soon as casting time is started to give it the benefit of the doubt. However, the target is also not next to the sidecaster. This means that causality must propagate at the speed of light to the core, before matter could be skipped from the core to the sidecaster's chosen point again at the speed of light. Otherwise, faster than light transfer of information and or movement has occurred. With a 0.25 real second casting time, the in-game time to cast is 21.6 seconds. The maximum distance that light could travel in that time is approximately 6.5 million kilometers, and the maximum return trip is only 3.25 million kilometers. This is closer to the star than even the minimum habitable zone of a very dim red dwarf at roughly 4.8 million kilometers. There is also another effects that imply that the sun is that close. For reference, propagation to the core and back would take 16.6 minutes in game time if solar pinhole was cast on a planet as distant from its star as Earth is from the sun. If the effect traveled at light speed, this would result in a real-time casting time of 11.55 seconds instead of only 0.25. In addition, a pawn with aiming time reductions such as from Trigger Happy or the Shooting Specialist role would have an even shorter casting time. Thus, the gameplay of Solar Pinhole does conflict with the canon around faster than light travel. Now we've got the Empire. An ultra-tech refuge society from the planet Sophia Munda. Their culture is based on a code of honor, a strict class system, and enforced social stasis. These are the survivors of a great calamity that tore apart Sophian society. They fled to the RimWorld using the remnants of their fleet. Despite losing so much, their ships and technology still make them powerful. They will refuse to trade with anyone who lacks the appropriate royal title. Okay, the in-game faction description. The Empire are the remnants of a technologically advanced interstellar empire, or of one section of it, originating from the glitter world Sophia Munda that have fled from a great calamity. They are organized in a feudal hierarchy, nominally headed by a far-off emperor. However, due to the lack of faster and light travel, much of true day-to-day power is held by the Stellarchs, who have dominion over their entire star system. Various facts about the Empire can be gleaned from imperial backstories, namely, the noble households are served by the common folk in a variety of roles from domestic to military, despite the technology available to the Empire before its fall. An imperial church exists, monotheistic organization with both inquisitors in the church's anti-heresy school and psychics in the church's psychic school. The church also provides chaplains for the military, non-combatants that provided for the medical and spiritual needs of the soldiery. Grand. Ancient starships acted as power bases for noble families alongside more traditional planetary holdings. Nobles and commoners alike would be born and raised on these ships. Wars of succession, as well as smaller scale conflicts over inheritance, were not unheard of. Some families implemented contingencies to guard against this. They fielded a developed military and, unlike most glitter worlds, it saw combat, possibly routinely, but definitely within the last generation. This combat included both planetary combat, involving infantry and aircraft, and spaceborne ship-to-ship combat. Noble titles are primarily hereditary, and at least some families practiced primogeniture. Those that did apparently practiced absolute rather than male preferences. Primogeniture. Note that while the update to version 1.3.3066 removed a reference in the faction description to a multi-planet empire, the title descriptions of make reference to multiple consuls, each in charge of their own planet, and multiple stellarchs, each in charge of their own star system. Thus, the empire is or was canonically multiplanetary and interstellar. Nature of the calamity. An ultra-tech refuge society from another planet, organized along feudal lines. They lived for thousands of years in a stable multi-planet empire with a strict caste system, an intricate code of warrior ethics, and enforced cultural stasis. Invaded by powerful outsiders, they fled, despite losing almost all of their people. Their fleet and technology still make them powerful. They will refuse to trade with anyone who lacks the appropriate royal title. So this is the in-game faction description prior to 1.3.3066. The calamity that forced the Empire from their territory and to the RimWorld where the game takes place was originally explicitly invasion by a powerful unknown enemy. An enemy more powerful than the Empire. This was conferred by both the in-game description and contemporary statements by RimWorld developer Tynan Sylvester. With the changes to the faction description in 1.3 to references to a non-specific calamity, it is unclear whether this invasion is still canon. With the addition of the places system used in the random lore generation of ideologians, cultures with Sophian backgrounds will have lore that references rebels led by a revolutionist, and bioengineered plagues deployed on the planet. It is possible that this is the enemy and/or calamity that destroyed Sophian society, though rebels would not constitute an unknown enemy, if such an enemy is still canon. What arrives at the RimWorld is a fragment of a destroyed empire, which was mostly annihilated by some unknown enemy. Wait, what? This is from RimWorld Reddit. It's a small refugee fleet with tiny numbers of people, but very strong technology and an honor and tradition based culture. They're led by a Stellarch, the highest ranking person in their faction. The Emperor never shows up in the game. Tynan Sylvester, RimWorld Royalty Launch Trailer on February 25th, 2020, reddit.com/r/RimWorld. Inspiration. I'm getting Eastern Roman vibes. Look at how the Imperial characters are named. Tynan Sylvester, RimWorld developer. The empire appears to be roughly based on the Byzantine Empire, a fracturing, once mighty empire driven from their previous homeland. This inspiration carries over to the use of Greek-inspired names for imperial pawns, similar Greek and Latin inspiration for their settlements, and their use of term cataphracts for their heavily armored elite forces. Janissaries, conversely, are Ottoman in origin. The Ottomans were in part a successor to the Eastern Roman Empire. This is partially confirmed by the above quote from Tynan. Mechanoids. Autonomous intelligent robots built for domestic, industrial or military purposes, only available to advanced cultures because such complex AI is needed to control them. RimWorld Universe Quick Primer. Killer machines of unknown origin, hidden in ancient structures, under mounds of dust, or at the bottom of the ocean. Mechanoids can self-maintain for thousands of years. This group of mechs seem to be unified in purpose, but not well coordinated in action. While local scholars believe they're autonomous weapons left over from an ancient war, tribal legends describe them as the demonic servants of a sleeping god. Faction description. In the lore, mechanoids are autonomous intelligent robots built for a variety of purposes. The technologies required to build them vary based on the complexity of the resultant mechanoid, with spacer-level herb worlds being able to construct more simple mechanoids for companionship, combat and labor use, while only glitter worlds are capable of constructing the more advanced, quasi-conscious versions. Others still are constructed and utilized by architects. In-game, mechanoids can be constructed and controlled with a mech link. Otherwise, only combatant mechanoids from a single, somewhat mysterious source are seen. These are some indications that the mechanoid seen in-game may have been built by, or otherwise allied with, an ancient army, perhaps that of the ancient faction, the Ancients. Whatever the case is, however, they have since lost any allegiances that they may have had and are now hostile to every other faction. The full leadership parts are usually associated with orbital mechanoid armies. Insectoid ecosystems were genetically engineered to fight mechanoid invasions, and thus the two factions are always hostile to one another. In addition to the existing mechanoid types encountered by a colony, the ancient exostrider runes are described as being mechanoids before their destruction. Insectoids. Only a limited amount is known as about the origins of insectoids, and most is provided from the faction description above. The planet Zorn was the original homeworld of the insectoids, before they were captured, genetically modified, and vat-grown by interstellar entrepreneurs for use as weapons, and exported to other worlds by parties unknown. As all seemingly alien life is claimed to have originated on Earth, it is possible that the original pre-weaponization Zorn gene line evolved from Earth life on the planet, or were already genetically engineered for some reason before being modified again. The purpose of the modification is known, however. They were intended to act as artificial ecosystem of insectoids designed to fight mechanoid invasions. Given the past tense used in the source, it is possible that the current insectoid ecosystem seen on the RimWorld does not function as originally designed. Notably, however, mechanoids and insectoids do remain permanently hostile to each other, a fact that can occasionally be exploited. The War. This section is a stub. Horax in the Void. Horax is an architect that exists in a plane of reality known as the Void, currently the only named architect individual. Different from architects seen before in many ways, while artifacts of architects seen before use a deep green and bright yellow color theme, artifacts of Horax use a deep black and bright red color theme. Horax is responsible for the anomaly phenomena via entities they created. However, the name Horax is only revealed by the appearance of the Horax cult and tomes, and the presence of the phenomena referred to as the Void. The cult's ideology refers to Horax as being male. However, like the name itself, whether this originates with the architect itself or is merely something ascribed to it by humans is unclear. Status of Horax after the event of anomaly ending is unknown. So, I guess this is also a bunch of lore. Experiences with monsters tells a story of deep meditations guided by a high thrall from an Arcus cult. Arcus, or experiences with monsters, tells a story of the collapse of any pawn possessive life under the psychic influence of something called Horax. Experiences with monsters tells a story of a tribe that was somehow transformed to serve the dark god of a bloody pleasure cult. Experiences with monsters tells a story of a tribal myth of an ancient god God of Rage whose influence touches all people, and the heroes who seal it away inside a tiny stone prison. Specific horror story. The book includes many illustrations attempting to depict something it refers to as the Black Ocean. There seems to be a metaphor for a psychic plane dominated by a horrifying but seductive psychic hyperintelligence. So I'm guessing, yeah, this is from the books. More specifically, the anomaly books. What are they called? The tomes, maybe? Specific horror story. It repeatedly alludes to a multi-plane nature of reality. The idea that there are more dimensions than the ones we see. So an object or entity could be right beside you but outside your ability to perceive. Specific horror story. It spends a long time attempting to describe a hyper-intelligent entity called Horax that exists in an adjacent plane of reality. Specific horror story. One section describes the mechanics of dark psychic influence, wherein an entity on another plane can unintentionally influence the thoughts of human beings by synchronizing them to its emotional resonance. Specific horror story. One section describes different architect hyperintelligences and the varying nature of their emotional and psychic emanations, where some are regarded as neutral or even benevolent, others are entities of pure rage. Specific horror story. Any pawn pronoun describes the feeling of any pawn possessive mind being forcibly reconfigured by the dark psychic influence of a larger intelligence. Specific horror story. Throughout the narrative, the concept of parallel dimensions is recurrent, with the characters encountering entities that exist just beyond the veil of perception, coexisting in a reality that intersects with our own but remains hidden from sight. Specific horror story. The book delves into a chilling exposition about Horax, a machine hyperintelligence that shifted itself through a hidden dimension into a place called the Void. Specific horror story. One chapter describes a theory where a distant hyperintelligence can psychically manipulate human cognition, reshaping a person's thoughts to align with its own mind patterns. Specific horror story. The protagonist recounts feeling any pawn possessive mind being forcibly rewired by an ominous psychic force emanating from somewhere. So, oh my lord, that is basically most of the RimWorld lore. I'm sure there's more, but this page of the official RimWorld lore has been read. So, very interesting actually. I never knew about all of this. About the Empire, about the mechanoids, about the insects originating from its own planet, and the high mates as the so-called perfect mates, and all of this. It's very interesting to read. All the different planets, glass worlds, everything. The Empire that was destroyed by an apparently more dangerous enemy. However, that is the RimWorld lore for you, so I hope you've fallen asleep, and if not, then I really would like to thank you for watching, and if you're bored, then watch this video next.